These 4 players are dropping down my dynasty ranks quickly, and I just want to address why. So right off the bat, let's look at Kendre Miller. Kendre Miller is a person or a player that I thought was going to be interesting. I was pushing him up my rankings because it looked like there was a clear path for him. As soon as training camp started, Kendre Miller gets hurt again. That's not necessarily the end of the world, but Kendre Miller getting hurt clearly did not sit well with Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen immediately came out and said he needs to figure out how to stay healthy because he can't make the team when you're always in the training room. And that, that's insane for a head coach to come out and say during the preseason when everything is usually fluff and optimism. But I think he's right. I was optimistic he was going to be healthy this year because I don't really believe in the idea that players are injury prone. But look, he came into the NFL, he was already hurt. When he was drafted, he was injured. He then got hurt in the preseason of his rookie year with a pulled hamstring. He then had a shoulder injury in week 8, an ankle sprain in week 10, and then in the first practice of 2024, he pulls his hamstring. Dennis Allen's spot on. If he's not healthy, he's not going to earn opportunities. And it's not as if there's a ton of competition behind him, but he needs to be better in order if he wants to push Alvin Kamara this season. Because if Kendre Miller does not get on track this year, it's probably not going to be a good sign for the rest of his career. So he starts at RB39 on DLF's ADP. I think you have to continue to push him lower. The other running back I'm genuinely concerned about is Tony Pollard. I think Tony Pollard is going to ultimately be fine for fantasy, but he's priced at RB18 in current startup ADP. That's difficult. That is a starting running back price. And he's not that. He is not the clear-cut one in this offense. And at his age, you're not going to get much else. I don't expect his role to really grow throughout the season. Because the first depth chart, which, take those with a grain of salt, especially in the preseason, him and Tyjae Spears got listed as the co-starters. I think Tyjae Spears is just better, in basically every single level than Tony Pollard. Last season, in the best offense in the NFL in terms of points per game, Tony Pollard had over 300 opportunities. 300. That is exactly what you want. He should have been an absolute smash pick. He finishes 13 points per game as the RB23. It just wasn't there for him. It wasn't good. And it's not that the offense didn't give him opportunities to produce. It's that he didn't do enough with those opportunities. And that goes back to why I think Tyjae Spears is better. If you just look at some key metrics that I care about for running backs, explosive run rate, how often are they ripping off those big gains? Tony Pollard was 25th among running backs. Tyjae Spears was 5th. Avoided tackles per attempt. Tony Pollard's 26th. Tyjae Spears, 4th among qualified running backs. Yards per route run, so as a pass catcher, Tony Pollard was 34th. Tyjae Spears, 5th. And the last one, yards after contact. How do you fight through things? Well, Tony Pollard 25th, Tyjae Spears 12th. So again, he rips off a lot of big runs. He makes more guys miss. He's more effective in the pass game. None of that leans Tony Pollard. It all leads the young, up-and-coming running back in Tyjae Spears. So the more I dig into Tony Pollard's previous season in 2023, the less I like him for 2024. I think RB18 is going to be way too high. He's not going to meet those expectations, and it's only going to be downhill from here. I have a second-year wide receiver that just he's not doing it for me right now. He's coming off the board, wide receiver 25, and I am talking about Jordan Addison. And typically you think, a player like that with the draft capital and the rookie production he had, he should be on the up and up. I just can't get myself to fully buy in. He puts up an 18% target share on the season, which in its own right is perfectly fine for a rookie. It was 15% when Justin Jefferson was on the field. It was 23% without Justin Jefferson. Okay, I think those splits make perfect sense to me. But Justin Jefferson's going to be healthy this year. So that's not a great sign for Jordan Addison. Yes, TJ Hockenson will miss the start of the season, but still, Justin Jefferson is going to be the funnel. Jordan Addison is always going to be the clear-cut number 2 as long as Jefferson's there. And to make things worse, you don't have Kirk Cousins to really support a full, well-rounded offense. It is going to go heavily through Justin Jefferson because quarterback play is going to be worse. Guaranteed, this offense is going to score less. They're going to have less yards, and that is going to negatively affect Jordan Addison this year. You can't expect a ton from Sam Darnold. We know that. You definitely cannot expect a ton from J.J. McCarthy as a rookie. Typically, just betting on that is never going to be a good idea. For a player that was heavily reliant on touchdown production last season, and he puts up 10 touchdowns with only 6 expected, that is going to come cratering down because the offense just isn't going to be able to produce at that level, and he's probably not going to see, a ton of meaningful targets with Justin Jefferson on the field. So all in all, it's not a good situation to be in. And all of that is circumstantial. That changes year to year. So typically you can say, Justin, you are not a situation guy, right? But let's layer in the talent piece. Let's look at the route running. This is where I really, really get concerned. Versus man coverage, 29th percentile win rate. That's like Sky Moore numbers. Versus zone, he is 60th, which is above average. That's fine. But the problem there is he plays on the outside more than he does in the slot. So he's not seeing a ton of zone coverage. He's getting a lot of man. And then versus press coverage, 12th percentile win rate. Jordan Addison in this current iteration, leaving his rookie year, was not good enough to be a true number 1 or really even like a great number 2. So at wide receiver 25, he's not necessarily priced as, egregious, but there's just a lot of players directly in front of him and behind him that are more deserving, I think are more talented than he is at this point in his career. So I think come 2025, we're going to look at Jordan Addison, and I think he's going to settle into the wide receiver 30 range. On the other end of the spectrum, a wide receiver that is getting much older and is nearing, maybe not the end of his career, but the tail end or the start of the tail end, Terry McLaurin. Off the board, wide receiver 41, which doesn't feel bad. Like the price itself feels fine. And still you really start to dig into what's been happening with Terry McLaurin the last couple of years. For starters, he's 28. Feels like he should be 26. He's 28, soon to be 29 years old. And he's just kind of plateaued as a player. Like we haven't seen him really break out. We all thought it was coming a couple of years back, and it just never really got there. A lot of that hinges on the idea of just bad quarterback play because he has been surrounded by it. But I don't know if that changes this year. I think Jayden Daniels is better than some of the quarterbacks he's played with, maybe, but he's a rookie. So same issue Jordan Addison's going to face, Terry McLaurin's going to face. This season, it's not going to be great. And here's the issue. We care about that more for Terry McLaurin because he is 28, soon to be 29 years old. He's only going the opposite way in value. Not even a spike this year is really going to save him from an ADP perspective. So you're guaranteed to lose value. And I just look at it and I'm just trying to get ahead of the curve, I think, because even if Jayden Daniels is great, Terry McLaurin's ability to earn targets has diminished year over year over year. In 2020, he pulls in a 25.4% target share. That's great. That's exciting. 2021, he pulls in a 24.5% target share. 2022, that drops again to 22.6%. And then last season, 2023, 21.6%. We have not seen him establish himself as a true one, at least from a target share earning perspective. So when you have questions about quarterback play and passing production, you have questions about player production, you have questions about target earning ability, even as a wide receiver 4, Terry McLaurin just feels like a landmine. He feels like a middling player that is not going to help you win